Hello and welcome into the Section 109 podcast. Here from Studio Breezy, I am Breezy. This is Matthew. That is Sir Mix-a-Lot. Toby is definitely under this couch somewhere. The GOAT, Bobble Juan, is right here. And we are here for a game recap that is going to be, I think, 5 games. If this is your first time listening to us or first time returning listening to us after our CFC Red Wolves podcast extravaganza, thank you. For me, it's been really personally meaningful to have as many people reach out and say thank you. I didn't know it would mean that much to me, but a lot of people have hit me up and been like, hey, I didn't know the story. I really appreciate it. So first of all, thank you for that. Thank you for those thank yous. Thank you for that feedback. Really appreciate it. It is our most listened to episode, most downloaded episode by far. And I can see on the back end of the analytics, the amount of you that actually listen to the entire thing is fucking absurd. So thank you. Thank you for that. If you are here and returning for that, this is going to be a pretty different podcast. First of all, we curse a lot, so sorry in advance. Second of all, we're probably going to be a little more blatantly pro CFC and a little less maybe... What's the right word? Neutral, yeah. And the other thing is, if you're listening or watching, we would love a like, comment, subscribe, all the things that make podcasters happy. Matthew, as we always start these, how are the vibes? How you feeling? We have 5 games to recap. How are the vibes for you? Also, you look incredible today, as usual, as is your new thing on Monday mornings, making me look like a total slob.
Vibes this morning are better than I would have predicted. So let's take the 5 games in totality. There were 3 wins and 2 draws. There was a penalty kick for an extra point on one of the draws, and there was a penalty kick defeat on one of the draws. Now, because the penalty kick defeat happened in the second round of the Open Cup, and given the opponent that game was played against, for some people, including one that is on this couch with me right now, that is a season-defining moment. And I think for a lot of fans are going to feel that way. And in some ways, like I also feel that way. There's not much this season that can be done to wipe away that stain. And that's not really rational. That's just like the amount of emotional buildup over 6.5 years, leading to one soccer game that ended up being determined by the literal lottery of penalty kicks. But that's just how life is, and sometimes how sports is. On the kind of totality of the rest of it, we won the home opener, got an early goal, and hung on for dear life.
Oh boy, did we. There's a little bit of a theme I think that's going to emerge here, and it's a bend not break thing that's currently going on. And I guess we'll talk about if we think that's sustainable and whatever else. But it's a feature, certainly. I don't know if it's intended to be a feature, but it's a feature so far in the first outside of the Easteridge game. It's a feature of us hanging on for dear life in every game, essentially, for at least portions of it.
Yeah, portions
bend
of
not
it.
Break.
For sure. You've got the score early against Huntsville, hang on for dear life. You've got a Corpus Christi Open Cup game, which was a real challenge.
I guess it's not fair to say hang on for dear life because we were the better team in large portions of that.
It was the first game, granted it was only the 3rd game of the season at that point in time, but it was really the first game where we actually had the ball, we became the protagonists, and I thought we struggled with that a little bit. But also, like, that's an Open Cup game against an amateur team, and against some really good players too. Like, they're gonna I think there's a former pro in the starting lineup in there as well. Like,
there were 2 former pros.
It's going to be difficult sometimes to break down those types of teams. We eventually did that. We made it a little harder for ourselves, but we eventually did that. Then we go into the Atlanta game on Sunday of last week, and that was a real struggle. We created some stuff here and there. especially in the opening 25 minutes. Atlanta really then got a foothold in the game and really pushed and challenged and made it very, very difficult, really bent us to their game. And that's not terribly surprising considering they had 7 first-team players in the starting lineup. And, once they really got going, like, it was really tough for us to get on the ball again. And, then, as soccer sometimes does, like, they didn't put away their chances. They gave us an opportunity. We got a great goal out of Marcus Nagelstad, his 60th career goal. If you look on the internet right now, I think it'll say it's Tate Robertson. It wasn't.
Sorry, Tate.
Yeah, love you, buddy, but that's not your goal. That's your assist.
I talked to Tate and Marcus after the game last night, or 2 nights ago, whatever it was. And I always say last night. That's a dumb thing about my brain. We're always podcasting the day after, no matter what day it is. But Marcus, of course, says, yeah, it's 100% mine. Tate's like, yeah, it was Marcus's.
Right. So, we're going to have to, spoiler alert, we're going to have to, actually get the official records changed because they are wrong. And the data provider is just wrong about that. Now, spoiler alert, when you get to write history like I do, it's already correct.
For those that don't know, Matthew helps keep the stats and has kept the historical record along with some other people. He's picked up the torch from Paul Rustan and a few others who had put together the stats. And Matthew has kept the stats for the last couple of years in a Google Doc that, generally speaking, is referred to as the thing, because for a long time the NPSL doesn't have any archive stats and didn't have assisters and barely had goal scorers. Only sometimes. So yeah, you have a little too much power in that.
Absolutely. But with that power comes responsibility, like getting things right.
Getting right, yeah. And we had a better vantage point on that goal than anybody else. We're exactly opposite of the camera, basically. And we could see that Marcus clearly got to it first. And you can also see, if you watch the video, I've got a freeze frame of Marcus hitting the ball. It does look like Morales hits the ball. It does look like it. I understand how they would mess that up. But if you watch Morales' reaction, when somebody scores an own goal, and it would have been a perfectly finished own goal if it were an own goal, he would have put his hands on his head. He would have reacted differently. There's no reaction there. It's just, shit, he got there before I did reaction. It's very clearly, there's nobody's has to help him up and be like, oops. It's very clearly Marcus's goal.
Yeah.
By all the body language and by what we saw in person. And if you watch the replay and freeze frame it, Marcus does have his foot on the ball.
That game's an interesting one because Atlanta really pushes forward. They find their equalizer pretty late on. We get
the last minute, 1 minute from the end of stoppage time.
Off a counter, we get that's a different goal. We get the response to go back up 2-1. Robert screenshot that's saved that Keegan roofs. And then Atlanta pegs us back again. A minute to go in stoppage time for a 2-2 game. We go to penalty kicks. We win the extra point, which puts us to 8 out of 9 to open the season. That game is not without some calamity, though, not just in terms of a couple moments defending to not get all 3 points. Alex McGrath goes off in the 85th, 86th minute with an injury. It's a serious injury, and
it appears to be a season-ending injury, by the way.
Yeah. We saw him Wednesday after the.
He was at the tailgate on Saturday.
I heard. I missed that part. We saw him.
True captain, true man of the people.
We saw him after the game on Wednesday, and I saw him again after the game on Saturday. He's done
for the season.
And obviously that's a huge blow. That's your club captain.
That's a nailed-on starter.
98 appearances for CFC, which is, what did I say, 6th all-time? Because it's 5th all-time. Fourth. It's 4th all-time. Sorry, I'll get that right eventually. He's 4th all-time in appearances. He's 2nd or 3rd in assists. He's 5th in goals. It's something absurd what he's done for this club since he arrived in 2022. So that's a massive loss. Obviously, it was a massive loss going into the Wednesday Open Cup game as well. And then you play 120 minutes in the Open Cup. You're not really. It's like playing the Michigan Stars, that Open Cup game, And if you don't take your chances, if you don't have the quality in certain key moments, you just keep a shit team in the game. And that's kind of what happened. And then you get to penalties and anything can happen. And spoiler alert, it wasn't good. And you could tell like just how devastated the players were, the crowd, everybody, except for 4,500, 450, other people.
Jeez,
fans.
How much credit are you trying to give people here?
Not much. Sorry. 450 other team fans, and
mostly academy parents and players.
Yeah. And then you come out to Saturday, and it's going to be the third game
in 6 days.
In 6 days, which is bonkers. And you're coming off of a really tough game on the Sunday, 120 minutes, and an emotional game on the Wednesday. And you're looking for something. And how I'm feeling takes a dramatically different turn because of Saturday. Or at least in part because of Saturday. I thought I arrived to the match about the 60th minute after Maddie was officiating a wedding, which was my second game showing up in a tie. Although, so it turns out the jacket's the problem, not the tie, which is a good thing to know for later, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
But on my rewatch, like there were some really good moments in the first 20 or so minutes, 25 minutes. Orlando really started to, at one point, I think our possession total was 60-40 in that first 20, 25 minutes. Mm-hmm. Orlando starts to really turn the possession. And by the end of the half, it's about 50-50. And it stays about that for the game. And they create some opportunities. They create some chances. Eldon does Eldon shit. The defense bends a little bit, but doesn't break. And outside of a couple key moments where they were able to create some big stuff, one's from a glorious ball from the goalkeeper onto someone's head. Just a ridiculous amount of skill that happens in this league sometimes. The other chances are mostly from us being bad in possession, being caught up the field, making the wrong decision, dribbling into somebody you shouldn't dribble into, etc. But we skate through, 0-0. Second half comes in. We're much better in the second half. We make a couple substitutes to bring Keegan and Mangarov into the game early in the 60s, pretty much right after I got there. And, Peter Plowman makes his second competitive appearance to replace Marcus in the 71st. And I really thought those three players, because I think we only make 4 subs. I think it's Stevie comes on late. Those 3 players obviously make a huge difference. Both Keegan and Daniel get a goal and assist. But I want to point out that Peter Plowman's just sheer athleticism, is frightening, and his willingness to just get on his horse, like that Erling Haaland hunched over run, scares the shit out of defenses. And what it does is it draws defenses to be mindful of him, and it opens up spaces centrally. So on goal number 1, there's a rotation, and ball's on the left side of the field, whatever. It comes to Callum in the middle. Callum doesn't hit the big diagonal for Tate and apologizes in the process, sends it to Fareed. Fareed slides it to Tate. And then, Keegan at this point in time, Peter's kind of central. Keegan's out right. Daniel's out left. Tate just slides the ball into the right channel because there's some space right there. Keegan takes it, kind of settles it, dribbles down, and then just, he sees Peter make this crazy run, kind of near post. And that near post run draws defenders, and it allows Mango a little pocket of space in the middle there. Keegan just fires him, pings him one. And it's a tough ball to handle, and Mango handles it pretty well with his first touch to set up, and he just beats the shit out of that ball for his second touch. and I think it catches the keeper. I think the keeper thought that he wasn't going to hit it on that half volley, and catches the keeper out a little bit. It's an absolute laser. It's low. It's in the back of the net. It's 1-0 at 77th minute. And then the next goal, fairly similar, just on the other side of the field. Just a nice little play in possession. Milo's on the touchline. And similar situation where our left winger, Mango, doesn't have that kind of cover, so he just has some space. And Milo just flings him a ball down the line. And Mango just takes it and drives and then just cuts it back. Peter Plowman makes this just another run centrally in the box, draws defenders. Keegan slides to find a little pocket of space, settles the ball with a little bit of a dribble in and just hits it near post on the keeper. Second goal. And that was really the game. It was seen out very, very well from there. Sometimes when we have leads, we struggle a little bit to gain possession, to do anything other than defend.
Nice of Toby to try to dig to China, as we said in middle school, underneath the couch right now.
Toby. But I thought we saw out the game very, very well in a way that we have not seen out a game with the lead this season, which was, number one, it was nice to win. It was nice to play a really, really good second half. And third, the way we won and then saw the game out was an evolution from the earlier part of the season. And so all of those things were really nice to finish the stretch on a high note, especially given how low we were after Wednesday.
So let's go back to the beginning of this stretch and let's talk about the lineups and the goals and everything. So the last game we reviewed, I just checked right before we started recording, was Huntsville. I'm sorry, excuse me, was Fort Lauderdale rather. So Huntsville's where we need to start. Huntsville was the home opener for us, and Huntsville has retooled pretty massively. Very, very different team, and they're good.
Yeah, they're good.
I wish they weren't, but they're very good. So here's the thing that I think I want to say before we start all of these. We still, not only have we not seen CFC's final form because we just haven't, played our, we're not even 10 games in, whatever. We still don't have Amzian Sidmohand back, who I believe is a starter on this team, or if not a starter, a heavy minutes guy. Peter Plowman was signed as the D2 National Player of the Year to ostensibly be the starter. And look, Keegan may have taken the starting job for himself potentially, but the signing initially was certainly for Peter Plowman, at least on paper, to be that guy. And he's just starting to play as a substitute. Marcus, obviously all-time leading goal scorer, is back and playing well. But we haven't had Jalen James at all. Jalen James, or Amzian Sidmohand.
And Peter.
Who did I say?
Amzi again.
Amzi twice. I'm big on Amzi. Amzi, Peter, and Jalen haven't played. We also just lost Alex McGrath for the season, so what are we going to do with that?
We'll have to talk about the new signing, Colin Thomas from Wake Forest.
So this is potentially a quite a bit of a different attack as we go on in the season.
And spoiler alert, there's a formation change.
Yeah, so I think it's something to think about as we go forward, that this team's going to evolve a little bit, just because, as you always say, personnel is policy, and the personnel that we've had and the personnel that we will have in the future may be very, very different. Also, Jesus was hurt for the first part of the season. Yeah. Nathan Kohler signed late, so he has now come into the starting lineup. It's just things are still in flux in a lot of ways, and so and we've changed formations, like you said, so that what we are and what we were and what we will be is still yet to be determined.
So in order to keep this 5-game review not a 5-hour podcast.
Well, you already did 3/4 of it.
We're going to blow past a couple of things. I want to hit some highlights on... So I want to take Huntsville and the Open Cup game against Corpus Christi in kind of a block together, because these are our last 2 games in a back 4.
They're also our first 2 games in a back 4. Oh, first of 3, sorry, because I guess we played Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we should also think back to that Miami game and juxtapose a little bit, because there's some interesting stuff. But go ahead, take it.
Yeah, so the only change...
take us through our lineups.
The only change in the from Miami to Huntsville is Ethan Dudley coming in for Logan Brown, which was the substitution in the Miami game.
Sir, that is Saint Logan Brown to you.
And Fareed goes to the right for the left footer Ethan Dudley. We score in the second minute of that game, and it's just a fucking free for all to hang on. Pretty much from then on. Huntsville's a lot different. That their ethos changed with Nashville's with the hiring of former U.S. Interim head coach B.J. Callahan
And former Peter Fuller assistant.
I was going to say, and basically friend of the podcast.
Friend of mine.
Friend of a friend of the podcast,
Yeah.
BJ Callahan.
I've seen him enough times now that he recognizes me because we had a conversation in a hotel about Peter Fuller.
Yeah.
And so when he sees me, he comes over and says what's up and asks about Peter. So
Speaking of, I got a call from Fools this morning.
My guy.
He's doing a lot better with his health stuff. And,
y'all send him good vibes and prayers if you are so inclined.
And we're hoping in a month or so that we might have some really, really good news.
T's and P's to our boy Peter.
So, but yeah, this game was challenging, and I wonder if it started prompting like a rethink of how we defend and how do we get out when we are defending, because we really struggled to get the ball back.
Who was the starters in this game?
And
what was the formation?
It was back four. It was Eldon, Tate, Fareed, Ethan, Milo, Mendonça, Callum, and Alex in the middle, Mango on the right side, Minjay on the left side, and then Keegan up top.
4-3-3.
Yeah, just a 4-3-3 like the previous Miami game. We went to the Open Cup, and it was still a 4-3-3. There were a couple of changes. Eldon, Tate, Logan starting, Fareed back to the left-hand side in central defense. Milo, Mendonça, Stevie started the Open Cup game. Callum was the 10. Alex McGrath went wide right. Mango was the left side winger, and then Keegan there as well.
Yeah, I would argue that played more like a double pivot. It wasn't a strict double pivot, but it played more like a double pivot in the Corpus Christi game.
I think especially in defense. But I mean, there was a halftime change made there. Minjay came in for Callum, and Alex went to the 10. And this game is totally different because we were on the ball so much. We were trying to be the protagonists.
Yeah, they had two shots early that were kind of stung the gloves of Eldon, but not that big a deal. And then we were the aggressor from then on. But Corpus Christi had a thing where, first of all, they have unlimited foreign spots as an amateur team. So you had a lot of foreign guys with a lot of soccer intelligence, and it's something we've talked about on the podcast and off for a long time. We've been this team before. And if you go back and listen to our, because Jim and I talked with Adam and Liam about this game right after it, the day after it. And one thing that we've been that team before, and they start running out of gas around minute 70, which is how the amateur team thing works.
Especially when it's that early in the season, and they're not even in the regular season yet.
But it's also just amateur teams are not training every day. Most of these guys have jobs, or they're in college, or they're in whatever. So they don't have the fitness we do. So around minute 60 or 65, and it's often around minute 70. Bobby Warshaw said on a podcast after he played us, actually, about how if you're the pro team, you just try to hold on to minute 70, and then you're going to be in the ascendancy. We held on to about minute 60, 65. When I say held on, I mean we were the aggressor and we were the whatever. But around minute 60, I think every player on that field for them went down twice with a cramp. And then they had a lot of soccer intelligence. So whenever they had the opportunity to kick it out and then go down with a cramp, to minimize or maximize the contact on whatever it was to waste the time. Their keeper, we started counting in the supporter section, 1 Corpus Christi, 2 Corpus Christi, and he started taking them earlier, but the first one took 17 seconds.
Yeah.
The rest of them took about 8 or 9 or 10, but he was wasting time on every single one, and that ref was too chicken shit to do anything about it. But we had and he warned them I've never seen a referee, by the way, warn somebody in the end of the first half. He warned him at minute 46 or whatever. He said, no more wasting time. And then he blew the whistle before the guy kicked it. He let him continue wasting another 10 seconds. I think it was unbelievable. But they had a lot of intelligence in that game, so they were able to milk that clock and make our lives really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And really just take advantage of everything tactically they could. But obviously, we can talk about how we got it done, but we did get it done. But that was a classic amateur versus pro team in the Open Cup kind of game. and a good amateur team. If that is their roster in the PDL, which is who knows, because they're still not into their season, so who knows how many of those guys are going to be on their roster. They're going to be fucking good.
Yeah, and look, they work. The reason why they're in the Open Cup in the first place is because they were really good last year.
Yeah, they're like 10-1-1.
These teams that make it do so on merit from their previous seasons, conference winners, basically. Like there's some really good players and some really good teams.
And they also came out with a good plan. They were well coached as well.
Agreed. And that was the first game of the season where one of the things I think that played a little bit into how we struggled to break them out at times is, we spent the entire year really closing up shop and trying to play on the counter.
We spent 2 games.
In the first...
We spent 2 games.
2 games of the season, entire year.
We spent
up to that point. And then all of a sudden, the mentality had to shift to, like, we are the ones on the ball. We are the ones expected to really drive the game. And we struggled with that. Eventually broke through, got the goal.
Who else?
Of course it was Marcus.
So good.
Of course.
So good.
Now...
he gets one chance and he does not fucking. It's a perfect header into the ground, bouncing in the perfect spot into the. It's a great ball. It's a great head cross in from Milo. It's just fucking perfection.
So then the team gets, roughly 10 days in between. No game on the weekend. I like to say that we're breaking for the international window.
Where a player that we then played against, Morales, in the following game, played 2 90s for Bolivia, one in which they beat or tied Uruguay. Oh,
I didn't actually know that. Nice.
Well, I think, Bolivia doesn't really lose at home.
That's freaking true.
Actually, let me put it this way: they don't win anywhere else except home, because I think their altitude is like 9,500 feet or some insane thing. Insane. Yeah.
So we go to play Atlanta 2 in Kennesaw on Sunday, the 30th.
By the way, I hope I just got that right, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
Great turnout for traveling support, fantastic, and if we had it, we had some issues with Kennesaw last year in terms of getting drums, flags, etc. Like unbelievable.
You mean getting an email back?
Yeah, getting really any support. Fantastic to work with them this time around.
Much appreciated. They were wonderful, and shout out, I think the guy's name is Brian that runs their thing, and
their stadium guy Brian.
He was extraordinarily accommodating, really, really nice, great on the game day, like just
the ticket guy who I didn't see at the game from Atlanta United was also shout out fantastic. Hailstrom, I think his name was.
What a name.
Yeah, so like just it's really important that as this league builds and as their independent teams or just like Huntsville, out of market, their own set of fans, like it's really important that people feel welcomed in traveling and want to go support and so that was a really good sign. This game is interesting because it's the first game of a back 3
and the first game of 3 in a row.
Yes. So Eldon starts in this one again.
So they clearly used that 10 days to decide to do a new formation.
Yeah.
Something happened in that Corpus Christi game, or something changed after the Corpus Christi game,
or the Huntsville game, more likely.
But but the Corpus Christi game we still played in a back 4. I think we went to back 3 right at the end when we were pushing for it, right, in the Corpus Christi.
I honestly don't remember.
But I'm just saying, like, they used that 10 days after. So yeah, sure, it might have been Huntsville, but it was interesting. They went immediately to a totally different back 3.
If you remember listening to this podcast way back in, I think, November, early December, we have Chris on, and we talk about kind of how he wants to play, what he wants to do. And one of the things he did mention on that podcast was, talking about like an alternate formation. And spoiler alert, it was this 3-4-3. He specifically mentioned, I don't mind going to a back 3, but I still like to have 3 guys up front, whether it's 4-3-3 or 3-4-3. And you're seeing that now that the alternate formation comes in, which we've used now 3 games in a row. And it is that 3-4-3. So that was Fareed. What the hell is happening on my thing? Why do I have 4 sheets now? That was wild. Sorry. You've got Fareed at right center back. Nathan Kohler comes in to be the center back. And Ethan Dudley going out to play left center back. You've got Tate Robertson and Milo Garvanian as your wing backs. In the middle for this one was Nick Mendonça and Alex McGrath. And then maybe the most interesting of the changes to set this up is Callum Watson goes from one of your kind of central midfielders, like your attacking midfielders. He moves to a right wing position. Jesus Ibarra takes the left wing. Marcus Nagelstad gets his first start. I think his first start for CFC since his return.
Yes, that's correct.
And there's some subs in this game too. Pretty early, Keegan and Mangarov come in at the 60th minute or so. Robert Screen and Minjae Kwok come in at the 77th, trying to rotate bodies. Ahead of the Wednesday game. McGrath gets hurt. Darwin Ortiz comes in late, makes his first ever official competitive appearance for CFC, which is great to see. Shout out to Darwin.
Congrats to Darwin.
He also, if you'll go back at the video, he also plays off of, I think we're defending a corner. He plays the clearance out to Keegan that starts the movement to set up our second goal.
Okay.
So that's really cool. Marcus and Keegan get goals in that game. The Open Cup game on Wednesday, couple changes from the Sunday. Eldon's still in goal. Logan Brown gets the start in this one. Fareed's in the center. Nathan Kohler's out left. It's Tate and Milo again on the wing backs. Mendonça again. Stevie Louis-Jean gets his start in midfield to replace Alex McGrath.
By the way, if you just listen to his him saying his own name, because they have the recordings.
Don't tell me he says Gene too.
He says Gene.
Oh my God.
This is Stevie Louis Jean.
I don't know. I'm trying to. Okay, cool.
Respect my man Stevie Louis Jean. Respect Stevie. Also, Stevie just needs to. We just need to treat Stevie like he's Brazilian and just call him Stevie only.
I actually agree with that.
One name only.
100%. Callum is back at right wing. Mangarov and Keegan come in left wing and striker. And there are a bunch of subs in this game. We use 6 subs. You get 5 in regular time. You get an extra moment and an extra sub in extra time. And we ended up using that one for Peter Plowman's first competitive appearance for CFC at the beginning of the second extra time. We know how that game goes. I don't want to dwell on it. But I will say, fantastic free kick from Mangarov.
Unbelievable
to tie the game back up.
Unbelievable free kick.
Just unbelievable. Skipping to his goal against Orlando, it's probably been a little bit of an up and down week for Mango. To have that absolute banger of a free kick, to then be the one that has your penalty kick saved, to then coming right back out and getting the game winner in the immediate next home game, the immediate next game, just a couple days later. That's an absolute roller coaster. And I thought he was brilliant when he came on Saturday. And that's what a player.
He's really good, man.
What an absolute player. And we can talk about some bigger trends, but like him and Keegan have been, especially because you and I, who are idiots, were predicting them to be kind of backups. And they've both really come in and just established themselves as just guys.
Mm-hmm.
And
they also clearly, the two of them have a connection with one another. It's Keegan who, on the first goal of the season against Miami is Mangarov to Keegan, right? I'm fairly certain it's Mangarov to Keegan.
It's Mangarov to McGrath to Keegan.
Okay. So you're right. But it's like, they're immediately, you watch them celebrate together. If you watch the celebration.
Go all the way back to the equalizer on the free kick. No. The game winner. The game winner against Atlanta United. Way back at the beginning of preseason. That's a Mangarov free kick to Keegan, who flips it up, and then the trialist center back is the one that finishes it. Like from the very game one, day one, like week one, whatever it is, like there's something going on there.
If you watch them, they celebrate together.
Yeah.
Every time.
And soccer a lot of times is about, partnerships in different parts of the field.
The right back and the center back, the right back and the winger, the midfielder and the midfielder and the winger. Like it is about there's a lot of importance to having chemistry with and a good understanding and playing relationship with the guy that plays next to you or the guys that play next to you in particular. And you could see those two guys have a connection. In fact, in this game, I believe they each have a goal and an assist to each other.
They each have a goal and assist to each other. Yeah. So just to recap the lineup side, Fareed, Kohler, Dudley
on the left, Kohler in the middle, Fareed on the right.
Tate and Milo again. Mendonça. Robert Screen makes his first ever league start.
Yeah, he's been here a year. He's been over here over a year. It's first league start. That's crazy.
And then Callum still at right wing. Minjay was at left wing starting. Marcus got the start up top. And then, Mango and Keegan coming in, Stevie coming in late, Peter getting his first league appearance. There's a lot. This set of 5 games has a lot of evolution. It's, the first league game, actually the first 2 league games in this stretch, a lot of being behind the ball, a lot of, doing something occasionally with it when we scored 3 goals in those 2 games, but a ton of defending, a ton of trying to break while defending. In the Open Cup games, we're the protagonists, we're on the ball, we're trying to do things, and we weren't great with that. Truly, we struggled to break down Corpus Christi. We struggled to break down and especially deal with the physicality that Eastridge brought to that game. They did not come to play soccer. It was very Michigan Stars-like. They did not come to play soccer at all. And that's part of it. You have to understand that and realize that. And I thought we really struggled with that. And then you go to the Orlando game, and all of a sudden possession goes about 50-50, which is by far the best we had in a league game by a factor of what? 10%?
Probably 9,
12%?
8 or 9.
Like it was something significant.
I think we had like 42 in one of those games.
So, we had an evolution in terms of how we kept the ball for the better. We
didn't do anything with it in the first half, but the second half we
really started to push the envelope in the second half.
It wasn't that we pushed the envelope. We just changed how we were playing, who we were playing, and who we were. Like the first half, and talking to some of the players after the game, we were just bad in the first half from their point of view, and I agree with that.
I think there was likely a bit of a hangover from Wednesday.
And then the second half, we were just good. And then the players expressed to me that, like, and I agree with this. Like we have to be that second half team.
Yeah.
That's the team we have to be, and that's the team that they want to be. And hopefully that is the true team that we are. Is that second half team, because that first half team is going to lose a lot of games.
There were too many big moments given up.
And we had a couple little moments, but I think that half ends like 6 shots for them, 4 on target, or maybe 5 on target, something like that, and it ends like 3 shots and 1 on target for us. Like that's not going to get it done. I don't care if you have 55% possession. Like in particular, it was the definition of possession without penetration. Shout out Peter Fuller being masturbation. So like we have to be better. And in the second half, we had more purpose, we had more drive, we really like did the thing that kind of Rod always preached. Like you put your foot on their neck and then you don't take it off. And granted, it took us a while to get the goal, right? But the big difference in this year is that we have not yet this year scored a goal and then kept the pressure up.
Yeah.
And we got the goal and kept the pressure up.
And immediately got the second one.
You could kind of see them losing hope as you watched kind of the body language of the Orlando players. And look, like Solis is a really good player. They've had a good season so far results-wise. They're kind of a typical next pro team where when they're at home, they have a few more guys off the first team. And when they're away, they have a few less guys off the first team. But like, it's a good roster, a solid overall roster we're playing against. And it's a really good sign that we, instead of coming when we've had a couple games this season where we've looked better in the first half or equal in the first half and then looked really not poor, but like offensively poor in the second half.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to see us get that offense in the second half.
This one also has a little bit of a build up because we start playing a little bit better. There's a little bit more confidence. There's a little bit more chance creation. You've got Minjay with a nice little half chance that he does really, really well with to even get a shot off. Keeper makes a save. You've got, I think you've got one where, and I forget who it is. Maybe it's Mango or Milo that tries to flash one across the box.
It's Milo.
Okay, that no one can get their head to. There's a moment like that from Peter as well when he comes in. He tries to flash one across.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Milo one where he puts it just half a yard wide, and then he smacks the ground
just before, and I mean like literally just before the opening goal. I think that comes off of we recover possession from a goal kick off of this chance, and that's where our goal begins. There's a nice little sequence where Mango has the ball and drives deep, and Milo comes in from his wingback position and kind of inverts on him, and Mango lays it off, and Milo hits it first time, and it's just wide. Like it's first time, it's early, it surprises the keeper a little bit, and it's just a hair wide. Then it's goal kick. We recover possession ensuing, and that's what starts the sequence for Tate to Keegan to Mango for the goal. But like it was building, and we haven't had a situation this year so far where like it's truly like sequence after sequence. We're building, we're getting closer, and then bang, we do the thing.
I don't think,
and the best part about that is then bang, we did the thing again, as opposed to sitting all the way back.
I don't think you keep track of corners. Obviously, FOTMOB does and whatever else. So I don't expect you to have this stat, but like I know that in that first half we had like 3 corners in a row at one point. I don't
very, very early on. It was like 5th minute because I was watching that portion.
We also had in like against Huntsville, for example, I think Huntsville had like 12 corners or some absurd number, and then I think we had 2 or just something crazy. And in this game, this has to be our most corners of the year. And I think they might have had like 3 or 4 corners, and I genuinely think we might have had like 8 or 9.
We had 8 corners; they had 6 total.
Okay, so by the end they close to even it up. But I think in basically every other game this season against,
we had 4 against Atlanta.
How many did Atlanta have? 45.
Atlanta, I just moved away from it. Atlanta had 7 against Huntsville.
This is the one.
We had 1 corner against Huntsville.
That makes sense.
And they had 12.
Yep.
And then against Miami, we had 3 corners to their 4.
So obviously Miami was much more of an even game, and I think that's a very different, out of this whole stretch of games, Miami's a very different game, which we're not covering today necessarily. But you saw in this game when we exerted a little more control, in a thing that admittedly we're not very good at yet. We've not, especially because of the game, how Huntsville played out and how Atlanta played out, where we were, pinned back trying to get out and get into space. Like we conceded so many more corners, and corners is not the like highest level like control metric, right? But it says something. Like it says that you're clearing the ball out, sometimes on accident, sometimes on purpose, to not get. In the Atlanta game, I don't know how many goal kicks we had by how many ones they headed over the bar. Like we had we just didn't have the control that we had in this game. And I think one of the stats that you can look at there is not just shots, but also just amount of corners that we had, because we were attacking even in the first half I don't think we were great. And the players said, we weren't good enough. We were still like better in the first half.
We were still attacking. We were doing some stuff, especially in that early 20 minutes.
I would argue actually that we were just defensively a little. What the thing that we're still doing, and some of the cracks in the armor that we have to fix, is that we are still here and there. And there's a feature in this league that we talked about a bunch last year, and we've seen a bunch last year, is that there's some really fucking good little fuckers in this league who are gonna do some magic every now and then.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have once or twice a game a big chance from the other team. There's no realistic chance that we are going to become a shutdown defensive team, no matter who's on the roster.
It's just not possible without spending ungodly amounts of money.
It's just not going to happen. I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. Where we're going to allow no big chances, right? They're going to have a big chance or two. I thought our goalkeeper play couldn't get better from last year when it was like standout and excellent. And boy, did Elton prove me wrong, right? He's been exceptional. So you're going to have a big chance or two every game, and it's incumbent on the defense to make a big play in blocking it, or the goalkeeper to make a big play, or for them to miss, right? But the thing that's happened so far this season, unfortunately, and fortunately, is that we have allowed more big chances per game, I think, than we did even last season, and that I expect for us to be successful in going forward. We can't have the Opta data is wrong. The thought mob saying against Atlanta that we had 8 big chances conceded is bullshit. We didn't have 8 big chances, but there was like 4, maybe 5, and that's too many. And what we have to do, and in this game we saw in the first half, they had 2, depending on how you want to. You could say 4. I would say 2 really big chances and 2 good chances that we save all of them. And Eldon, if you hit it within his arm's reach, is going to save it. And if you get one-on-one, his timing is impeccable. So like that's good. But
Opta gives them 2 big chances missed
in the first half or overall.
Well, yeah, in the first half.
So I think that's about right. But what I was going to say is we have to tighten up defensively, and we can't get those center backs separated for a one-on-one chance on Eldon, right? We have got to make it so that happens once or twice a game, and they're hopefully not one-on-one. And that's the thing that I going forward that we're going to have to figure out. We're going to have to close up, and it's early on in the season. Like it's not like all these center backs have been playing together all season, for a whole season last season and then this season. Right? It's a new back line. It's a new goalkeeper. It's a new whole set of holding midfielders. So, and
part of that is also knowing how to attack, how to keep possession, when you need to bail, when to not get overrun. Like, because if you lose possession when you're caught up the field a little bit, like this league is a very transition oriented league too. Teams want to play with the ball. They want to take risks. They want to learn. They want to develop. And when we try to do the same things and they catch us in a trap or on a whatever, they're also going to go. And I think specifically for this Orlando game, there's one moment where you get caught in possession and it's a massive chance. There's one moment where I don't know if we switch off. I don't know if like a keeper making a 70-yard pass straight to somebody's head perfectly is that repeatable, except he does it again. But like those kind of things happen. And, that's why you pay a goalkeeper, right? Like sometimes you just need a goalkeeper to stand on their head.
There's also an interesting thing about that little fucker in that game where that goalkeeper goes down 3 times it's 2 times in the first half and then 1 time in the 55th minute. So I said to somebody it was 3 times in the first half. I think it was just twice in the first half and once in the second half. He goes down with cramps twice in the first half. Well, once for cramps in the first half, once in the 55th minute, and then once for being hurt. And if you were watching on the video, you could see my lots of air quotes. I don't know if he went out and drank too much the night before and was dehydrated. I don't know if he had a fucking stomach bug, but like you shouldn't be having cramps in the 30th minute. He came over every one of their corner kicks. They had a couple in the first half or second half. Every single one, he came over and guzzled water as if he had never drank water, if he'd been water fasting for the last 24 hours. But it was really frustrating and really wonderfully vindicating to get those goals and take care of things, because it's really annoying when a guy is just going down repeatedly. Also, like it's a 0-0 game that nobody is, except for their goalkeeper, wasting time in. And then Minjay doesn't come off quite as quickly as the 10 seconds or whatever that's required. And I don't know if he didn't know. You can't see on the camera, and I couldn't see during the game. I don't know if he didn't know his thing had got put up, or if he started going to the wrong side of the field. But he comes running over, and he's moving pretty quick when he gets to the sidelines. And then they make Keegan wait 2 minutes to come in.
It was a minute.
It was 2. I watched the countdown. It's 2 minutes.
It was a minute.
I watched the clock. He doesn't come in until 2 minutes. I watched on the rewatch last night. They wait 2 minutes.
I can't wait to prove you wrong.
I'm just telling you. I counted. It was like 65-45 or whatever it was, and then it was like 67-35 or 40 when he came in.
This is the thing we do.
Here's the thing. That rule, which is a good rule to prevent time wasting, never gets called in this league. We watch guys jog over. Also, they let guys kick the ball away, especially for Orlando, all last night, or all 2 nights ago rather, all the time, which is like a giant no-no. In some of these games, you'll see them be like, don't touch the ball. Like the referees are screaming at them, like, you touch the ball, it's going to be a yellow after like once the call. And they're letting these guys kick the ball away and like pick up the ball and whatever else. And we did it too, to be clear, but like Orlando was doing it. And then you call that ticky-tack shit? Like, I understand if it's the 90th minute and we're up 2-0 and Minjay takes too long to get over, that is the spirit of the rule and the spirit of the law. And like, I like that rule overall to like prevent time wasting. But what are we doing? Like, I don't understand it. And what I really don't understand is why it's not, if it's going to be called, it needs to be uniformly like throughout the game, every game. Don't randomly do it to a player in a random game that doesn't have the moment. Like, it's just so fucking dumb.
That's the rule sometimes.
Why have these rules if you're not going to call them? And if you're going to call them, like, call them every game.
This is my argument for banning VAR in a nutshell.
Jesus Christ. To go from wrong to wronger. All right.
So let's look ahead. The boys will be in High Point on Sunday against Carolina Core. This is a pretty big game. Carolina Core is a decent team.
They had a big win on Saturday.
And yeah, they avenged an earlier loss against New York City.
They've already played New York City twice?
Yeah. Beat the shit out of them.
5-0?
Yep.
It was 3-0 in the first like 8 minutes or whatever it was.
It was quick.
I was trying to watch the highlights of the game. My internet at the bar afterwards. My internet wasn't working very well, so I ended up turning it off. But on our game that I rewatched last night, in the top corner, it kept putting up their score, and it was like 3-0, and it was like 3-0 the whole game. That was wild, man.
Yeah. So they jumped out early and just cruise controlled it. That's gonna mean like they've been a pretty good team ever since about midsummer last year.
They also did an interesting thing where they brought back, which is probably where you're going with this. They brought back like 20 players roughly,
something like that,
which in MLS Next Pro in particular
is unheard of.
So we brought back 12,
something like that.
And in this league, I think the median, or let's actually say the average. I bet the average MLS Next Pro 2 team, take off the players that are on the first team roster. Coming back, meaning like take off on the supplemental MLS 1 squad with 21 to 30 or whatever. Take those players off because they're on the first team roster and they're just loaned down or whatever the proper term is. But on MLS Next Pro contracts, I think the average number of guys that came back was probably 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I mean, the turnover has been bananas.
I mean, just compare it to us, and we were at 12, and they're at legitimately 20 or 21.
Where the two outliers are the two independent teams,
which really means that team got essentially an entire year older, like just uniformly, like an entire year older.
They're also
and like they found a good core. Yes. Pardon the pun. And they've really stuck to their guns. Even a new manager, who was
shout out Donovan Ricketts,
an assistant coach before, like has kept same formation, same.
It's also adorable that they did everything. Like we fire our coach, they fire their coach. We promote an assistant, they promote an assistant. Like you always want to be us.
We failed to win on the final day. They failed to win on the final day.
Yeah. Just everything you can do, we can do slightly more.
It's like they're gonna be a real tough matchup. They can keep the ball when they want to.
Yeah, I'm worried they're good.
More interestingly, they really attack high lines. They're constantly trying to get in behind, and they're gonna be a challenge. And on their home field, it's gonna be a real tough game. And now the reality is, we've played 4 games in the league thus far. There are 24 games left on our calendar this season. Now that we're out of the Open Cup. So every single one of these 24 games is insanely important. And there's only 1 week the rest of the year where there's a short rest. And it's at the very, very end. This is a massive opportunity now. And I'll use the word opportunity. Wednesday is going to live long in my thoughts. And I bet a lot of people's thoughts too. So it is imperative now that we build on getting a good result on Saturday in the league, and we continue to push forward, because this season desperately needs to be a success. And for a lot of supporters, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but for a lot of supporters, like Wednesday is a stench that will be unable to be removed. So we have to push on in this league. And starting out with 11 points out of 12 is fantastic. But we started hot as well last season. And the dog days of summer eventually came. So how do we evolve? How do we continue to push forward? How do we continue to build on what we've started here and really go to another level and be one of the better teams in this conference, so that we have, so that we're looking at our goals of a home playoff game and a big playoff run now. So hopefully we push on and we start really moving here.
I actually don't think I agree on the imperative to do something on Saturday. We're still so not back from injury yet, and we're still so new in this new formation and this new whatever. I'm more interested in a good performance than I am a result, oddly enough, on Saturday. We've gotten results without the performance so far this year. And if we don't start getting better performances like the second half against Orlando, then what will happen is as these age curves of these teams level up, and we've had a tough beginning of the season. Like Atlanta may be down on the table, but Atlanta's fucking good. Huntsville's real good. Miami, we'll see, but they look to be pretty good. So it may be that we've just played three really good teams and gotten battered. But getting the result is important, and every point is important. I'm not saying that those things aren't important. But if we continue to, and I'm not saying you're necessarily saying this, but like a win, if Core is a lot better than us on the field and we win, I will feel worse on Saturday night, or Sunday night rather, as I drive back, or hopefully ride back. Hopefully Justin is driving, or Eric and Justin. Hopefully, haven't quite stabilized that yet, but I will feel much better if we put on a good performance. And of course, if we get a result, that will be the top. But if we don't get a result, and luck comes back to bite us from the first half of the year so far, first half of these games, however you want to say it, but we put on a good performance against what I think is a good team. I've watched some of Carolina Core's games early this season. I think they're good. That will make me feel better, because if you remember how last year went for the listeners and viewers, like we started out gangbusters results-wise, and we picked up 2 points in every draw, and we got a lot of 3 points that we probably didn't deserve, but we were kind of just doing the thing and making. The first half of last season was about, up until the last two games of the first half, was about making the play in the right moment. Our guys were like the definition of clutch at the first half of last season, which, I mean, a lot of stat heads for all sports will argue that clutch isn't a thing. I think very clearly clutch is a thing, but clutch is not a repeatable thing across a team. In most leagues, most of the time, it is very rarely a repeatable thing. I mean, I think you actually see Detroit City might be one of the only clubs that's ever been like a repeatable thing over many years. So I need to see us, so that I can have faith on my own end, put on a good performance, so that I can hopefully rationalize us getting better. Because getting the results as these teams age curve wise level up, and they come together and level up, which they will. If you're new to the league this season, like, welcome, I'm glad you're here. And like what you're going to see is roughly halfway through the year, all these 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds start to like fucking level up, because the developmental curve goes up, and they start like really gelling as teams. And so if we don't, all of that is to say, we need to put on a good performance for me. I hope we win, of course. I'm always hoping we win, but I will start to become more and more concerned if we win in a similar way that we won against Huntsville, where we're under it the whole game. I know there's some game state related stuff where we get a goal early and whatever else, but we need to put on a good performance. We need to be equal. And if we're on equal footing as Core, who I think is a good team, and we win, great. If we lose and we're on equal footing or better, bummer, but like that happens. But what I will be disturbed about is if we go out there and we get smacked around and we sneak out with whatever it is, win, loss, whatever it is, the lack of a good performance there would make me a little more concerned, because we've got to start building and growing, because if we don't grow, if this is our level of performance that we've had so far this season, it will be a long season. Potentially. But again, we have guys coming back. We have the ability to change, we have the ability to grow. I'm not sounding the alarm bells yet. I'm just saying it is the beginning of a big stretch of games here where we need to start better performances in addition to continuing to win as many of those games as possible.
There's some underlying XG data that we're not talking about very intentionally because it's a 4-game sample
because
size.
it's way too early. It's not significant yet.
But we are looking at it, and I think that's one of the things that's prompting a little bit of this.
It's not just the XG. My eyes tell me that too.
I'll also note that this podcast was pretty much the first place to publicly sound some question marks at halfway of last year because of the points relative to XG performance and how we thought back then that there was the possibility that what we were doing was not sustainable if our luck ever turned. And our luck turned, spoiler alert, immediately. Spoiler alert.
Our luck turned and our performances didn't get better last year. And so the performance of everyone else got better. And then even when we did have good performances because our luck had turned, like we just...
Points were so tough to come by after.
And we lost 4 in a row for the first time in club history.
Yeah. So all that to say is Sunday is an opportunity to build on these first 6 games. We need to be better with the ball. We need to be more clinical and create more chances.
I actually don't think we have to be more clinical. I think the clinicality's been pretty good. We need a larger volume of chances though.
Yeah.
And defensively, we've got to tie things down. And then if we get a lead early, the one thing I want to see, and I think I've said this to you off the podcast, but I'll say this on the podcast, like what does Peter, as an example, and eventually Amzian and Jalen James when he comes back, because those are the guys that haven't played yet. What do they bring to the offense when we are correctly sitting a little deeper with less to lose, with less to whatever? So like Huntsville can be explained away in some ways because we get the early goal and then we wait and we just don't get that second goal in the break, but we really struggle to get out because we're back so far.
We only really created in that game maybe 2 opportunities on the break. And if you're going to sit back in a game like that and you're going to absorb pressure and keep numbers behind the ball, that's all well and good. Like if you have a lead, like and the other team's really, really good in possession, like you just kind of have to.
And look,
you have to deal with that.
Pepe
but you
Casas
have to be able to break out at some point in time. And personnel is policy. So who you have on the field dictates in some ways formation, shape, all those things dictate a little bit too. But your personnel dictates like how you're going to break out, who's likely to break out, and where they're likely to end up.
And how much faith, this from a mental point, do the other guys have to get forward when you break out with that player? So like, does Peter, if we can get it out to Peter, this is an example. I don't know what happens, but this is like if we're pinned back and then Peter certainly looks like a bit of a super athlete out there running around. You compared him to Erling Haaland and he does kind of run funny in the best possible way. Like he has that big, like you watched guys, like you were saying, he creates openings for both the goals against Orlando. He's not the only reason we score, but he's a part of it because there are 1 or 2 guys following him because they are fucking terrified.
Right.
If he gets out on the break, yes, it's what can he do, but also what does then the rest of our team feel comfortable? Do they feel comfortable being another 3 or 4 yards pushed forward because they know that once Peter gets the ball, they can push up and they feel comfortable that he's not going to lose it? Like, I don't know what happens. We are so early in the season, but we do need, and I do need to see that if we get a goal and if we sit back, that some of this new personnel, hopefully that's going to be playing, whether that's as starters or as backups or whatever it ends up being, give us the ability. And we've already saw in the preseason, I think Amzi is going to give us a different look getting out. But like, what do they give us in order to be a team that doesn't just sit there and let another team rack up half chances until they eventually score?
Yeah. I think this is a good place to leave it. Colin Thomas, welcome to Chattanooga. Allegedly was in open tryouts. Been in training for a little bit, got hurt at some point in time, came back.
We found out the tryouts thing from somebody else that was in tryouts. Shout out Chattahooligan Justin Vizarro, who said he was I think he said he was a trialist number whatever, 76 I think he said or something. So I don't know if he was like, I don't know if he has that right. I'm not saying he doesn't. I haven't verified any of that. But if he was an open tryouts guy, fucking love that. Also, like a 5-year player at Wake or a 4-year player at Wake?
5-year player at Wake.
5-year player at Wake is nothing to sneeze at.
I mean, he's got like 82 games under his belt or something like that.
Like
that's a lot of games.
You think about guys that were 5-year players at big schools. You think about Milo. Well, look what he's done.
Robert Screen.
You look at Robert Screen and look, I know Robert Screen didn't play last year, but he's been real good this year. He was great in large portions of that game on Saturday, even great the whole game. I think looking at this guy's pedigree makes me happy. If he's truly been, and I don't know if he's been out on other trials during that period or what the deal was, but if he's been in camp for quite a while, it could help his settling in process, and also makes me excited that we were able to get a guy quickly. I don't know how many minutes he's slated to play, right? I don't know if he's an Alex McGrath-like replacement or if he's a guy that allows somebody else to replace Alex McGrath's minutes and then he plays. I don't know how this works, but I'm happy we moved quickly. I assume it's because of the Alex McGrath injury. Maybe this was already, thanks, Toby. Maybe this was already in the works because it happened so quickly afterwards. It feels like it's Alex, but maybe this has been in the works for a week or 2 or 3, despite Alex's injury. But I think it's a good sign. I like the pedigree. I'm dog. I'm excited to see him on the field and see him get a chance. And also, one last thing, we are rotating more this year than we did last year. I think it shows that we have a deeper squad, as you and I predicted. And knock on wood, hopefully, as the dog days of summer hits, that helps us a lot with staying fresh and being ready.
Absolutely.
Listeners, viewers, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope to see some of you in Carolina on Sunday, and we will catch up with you soon. Peace.